96% of our country is against the United States attacking Syria. Why? Why is the United States against attacking Syria? Well, there's different reasons for all about. There's monetary reasons, there's the reason that this is not actually a good thing to start another war with a country using our tax dollars. There's the argument that this is not humanitarian. There's the argument that this is an internal war between Syria and itself from the pro-Assad and the anti-Assad people. There's the point that maybe Assad is using chemical warfare, but at least he's not using it on anyone else. We don't want to get involved with China and Russia, who are defending Syria in a pact. If anyone attacks Syria, then they will attack whoever attacks them, meaning the United States of America. There are many, many reasons. 96% of the United States public is against this war. Why am I against it? Why am I against the war on Syria? Unlike people who believe that the only reason why we should go to war, why we should not go to war, is because of monetary reasons, I believe it's because the United States, and I know because it's the United States, is the one that is perpetrating this war in the first place. Why? Let me tell you something. The IMF is called the International Monetary Fund or Foundation. This is an arm of the United States military. Now, what do I mean by that? The United States military and the United States goal with warfare is to keep their economy up and running. And the only way to keep the United States economy up and running is by making sure that the United States dollar is still accepted through force. Now, why would we have to accept it through force? Because of the very reason that fiscal conservatives like I am now understand that the only reason why our dollar still has worth is because of the belief in the United States dollar. And that belief in the United States dollar is crumbling. However, the only reason why it has not collapsed completely like it should have is because the United States has an iron fist that can go down on anyone who dare say that the US dollar is worth nothing. If the United States dollar was worth nothing, that would mean that our entire economy would collapse, and therefore we would no longer be able to keep up this facade of fiat currency where our dollar is actually worth something. The dollar is only worth the amount of money, the value that people put behind it, that the belief of the US dollar is. Once this belief is gone, and once we do not have any more military forces policing the entire planet, we have nothing. We are already spending an exuberant amount of money for all of these forces in hostile and non-hostile areas like Germany, policing the world and little United States air bases all around the world. And the only reason why some people remain on our side is because they rely on the US economy just as much as we do. Everybody else relies on the United States economy because that's a backbone of the entire global system. I remember a few years back, our United States dollar had a credit score rating that went from AAA, which is the very highest credit score a monetary system can have, down to AA. Everyone panicked. Everyone said this is going to be the worst thing happening possible. But the thing is, the point is that AA score should have actually been a D score years and years and years back. Because besides the belief and besides our iron fist shoving up people's asses saying respect our authority, our dollar is worth nothing. It is the same amount of money as the value in the Zimbabwe dollar. When the Zimbabwe dollar was, you had to carry buckets and buckets and buckets full of trillion-dollar bills of the Zimbabwe dollar. Now that's another issue that I would like to get into in a later video that coincides with what the value of the dollar really is, which I have actually touched on a little bit during this rant. But back to Syria. Let's bring it back now. That is the reason why we need this war. Because we need to make sure that everyone fears us. But that's not going to work this time. And the people up on top know that. Because Russia and China are humongous superpowers. China is humongous because it has a great economy. Because we actually rely on them to uphold our economy for most part, because we actually rely on them for about a third of our economic stance. Without them, we'd be fucking nowhere, except for our military might. Now, to say that Russia is against us, Russia is just another gigantic force that we have to reckon with, that we were trying to kill back during the Cold War Soviet era, that we have not, and we still have to deal with them. So China and Russia being against us, even though we have a huge military standing, means that we are fucked. We are screwed. Because that's 1/3 of our military stance going down under, and that's Russia being against the United States. And not only that, but the United Kingdom, which is our #1 ally here in the United States, had voted no on the war for Syria. That means that not only our dollar has dropped drastically, even without anything happening in Syria, but our stance has dropped, meaning that the people in power are in dire trouble. And that's good. Why is this good? This is a good thing because this means we have a chance to start over. Because if these people attack Syria, this means that we're dead. We're all fucked. Because Russia's not going to have it. Russia's either going to bomb us and through a thermonuclear war, or China is. Russia said it. China has not. China could do so much more shit with our economy, but Russia has a nuclear arsenal just like the United States. The United States might not go to war through. The United States might actually say, hey, let's just stage a false flag attack here in the U.S. and make everyone believe us again. Well, that's the thing. We're not going to believe you. We are not going to believe Barack Obama, who was supposedly supposed to be one progressive fucking president. Now he is a fucking shitty neo-conservative douchebag, just like the one that we had in office before with Bush Jr., but worse. Way worse. And I've been saying that for years. Bush is better than Obama. Obama is the worst president that I have ever had in my entire lifetime, and I feel ashamed to have voted for him in 2008. No, I did not vote for him in 2012. And the reason why is because I disliked Obama ever since 2009. And I hated him in 2010. Because I already realized that he was no progressive. He was no liberal. He was a neo-conservative. Even further right than Donald Rumsfeld. He is bent on starting World War III. Now, let's go behind the scenes. Let's say all of that stuff that I was talking about was only pertaining to, but it was not, but let's just say, hypothetically, all of that stuff that I was bringing up was just saying that this will happen, but Syria actually carried the chemical warfare attack, which they did not. Assad didn't carry out the nuclear attack. It was the rebels. And the rebels are anti-Assad. They're as anti-Assad as we are. And we are with the rebels. We have been with the rebels even before this whole spiel with attacking Assad began in the first place, because we were painting out Assad to be some evil fucking dictator, which it turns out that he's not. It turns out that he was a democratically elected president that is very, very pro-religious freedom, like our country was. He is secular, which is awesome, but we were backing the wrong guys. We were backing the real terrorists. In fact, we were backing terrorists. The rebels are not rebels. They're Al-Qaeda. They are the evil people. We're backing the evil people that attacked us in 9/11, or so we say. And now we're saying we have to attack Assad, and that Assad was using those chemical weapons and everything else like that. Oh, and once we ask for proof, and we say, we'll do it as long as if you show us proof, where's the proof? There is no proof. There's only proof for the opposite end, that the United States gave these chemical warfare weapons over to the rebels that we were funding and fighting with in the first place before it was already dropped the bomb, that these people are actually terrorists, that they're actually Al-Qaeda, who in fact were the people that attacked us, quote-unquote, during 9/11. And even better than that, we were so celebratory when we finally killed Osama bin Laden in 2000 and whatever. 2011. I don't remember when it was that we killed Osama bin Laden, but the funny thing about Osama bin Laden was that we were working with him during the first fucking Gulf War. We were working with him, and then there's people that will say, oh, of course we were working with him because we only needed him as a pawn to get the Afghanis their country back. Even though Osama bin Laden, if you look at his fucking history, has always been anti-American, except for the fact that he was actually a former CIA agent. He worked for the fucking CIA. He worked for the CIA under a different fucking name. People, wake the fuck up. And I understand you can't wake the fuck up if you do not know your history. And that's why people have to fucking learn their history of the United States and the Middle East. I understand people have full-time jobs. I understand that people need to study and everything else like that. But the thing is that people need to understand where our country is going and why it's going that way. It's not enough to just be against this war. It's enough to know the history behind it. It's enough to know that the United States government is not to be trusted. It's not to be trusted not only because of because of the Patriot Act that was fallen under Bush, but because of the NSA. And because of, in 1980 something, that AT&T even had a huge database of our telecommunication lines that were put into servers somewhere in the middle of Georgia. But people will think you're fucking nuts if you bring this out to the average everyday citizen, because the average everyday citizen is appalled by this sort of stuff, and with good reason. Of course they're appalled. Of course they're appalled that their government would do that, because we're brought up and we're into this mentality that our government, right or wrong, our government cannot do anything wrong, so our government is always right. It does not matter, but it does matter. Our government is not with us. Our government is against us. And why is our government against us? Not because they're the fucking government, because they're a corporation. All they care about is money. Our government is a giant corporation, and people do not understand this. And then I watch the Young Turks, and I see them siding with John Kerry, that fucking idiot that I used to like way back when, and I understand this guy is a fucking sociopath like everybody else within this fucking corrupt structure called the government, because all they care about is making sure that their power gets and spans the world so they can have fucking everything within the entire world. We don't realize the point that we're actually living as slaves. We might have a job that we might like. I like my job. I like working as I did work as an IT intern. But that's the fact. You shouldn't have to work 8, 9 hours a day, 40 hours a week, 45 hours a week or more if you're working overtime to fucking make a living. You shouldn't. It should be like a little bit, or even grow your own crops. But of course you can't even do that. Of course you can't even get your own electricity, because everything was run by the giant monopoly called our government. And people say, oh, we're anti-business, but we're not anti-government. Well, guess what? The government is a huge business. That's all it is. It makes sure that everyone is under control, and then they can give us stuff that we need by their own terms. By their own terms. And that's the point. It's by their own terms. If they were giving us stuff that we needed, and they were actually helping poor people, we wouldn't have so many fucking poor people on the street. We wouldn't have people going around trying to ask people for money, and people going around laughing at them because these fucking ignorant yuppies think just because they have a fucking job in the city means that they're better than them. No, you understand that you fucking ignorant fools are just as fucked as everyone else. Because in the end, your money is not worth anything, and their money on top is not worth shit. No one understands that money is not worth anything. And I'm going to get into that rant that I said that I was before about money and its value. Money does not have a value. That's why if you raise the minimum wage up to $15 or $25 an hour like really liberal people say, that's not going to do anything. It's going to do exactly the opposite of what we want. because that $25 an hour that minimum wage people are making, everyone else's wages are going to increase, and that means all of the other prices will increase, and the $25 an hour would equate to $9 an hour. That's it. I don't understand why people do not understand this easy and simple concept. The dollar is not worth anything. The dollar is what we think it's worth. $25 an hour is not going to get you anything. Then $9 an hour is going to get you if $25 an hour is minimum wage. Because minimum wage means minimum wage. Minimum wage means you work at McDonald's and you get what McDonald's work gets you. If you raise that up to $25 an hour, a network engineer, instead of making $70,000 a year, will make $300,000 a year or something like that, because, you know, these network engineers that I want to be make $40 an hour or something like that. No, their wages will either increase or stagnate. It doesn't matter, because these fucking people don't understand that a dollar is not worth a dollar. The dollar is worth whatever the market says it is worth. And then you have the government at top trying to help poor people, supposedly, trying to raise their minimum wage, and then, in fact, what it does is that it weakens the value of your dollar, it makes everybody else mad at one another, and it makes it so the wage gap increases. Because the people at the very top, they can be like, oh, well, we'll just pay you more money. Because that's what's going to happen. What we need is a maximum wage, people. We need a fucking maximum wage. And I know that sounds unfair or some shit like that. But no. Maximum wage, bottom out the dollar. Make it so that there's no minimum wage. Make it so that you're working for a penny an hour. And that value of the penny will go way up. Yeah. Keep doing that. Keep on making the maximum wage lower and lower, and keep the minimum wage at nothing, and see where that gets you. They'll collapse the dollar. They'll make it sure that we understand that fiat currency is not worth anything. That it's funny money. It's worth shit. It's not worth anything. It's a means of showing how productive people are, which isn't worth anything. We need a different stance with this whole economy thing, that we think there's economy, but there's no economy. Let us not attack Syria. Do not fucking attack Syria. You want to attack Syria? Fine. You're dead. Everyone is dead. Is that what you want? Is that what you want? You really want thermonuclear war because of the United States saying that Syria blew up its own people, even though that doesn't make any fucking sense, because Syria wouldn't do that because they know about the fucking chemical warfare thing, that you weren't supposed to use it since World War I? Do you think he's that fucking stupid that he wants to make sure that the United States blows up his country? You understand that his country is so fucking small that he couldn't even fucking defend it on his own? That if he really did do that, Russia and everybody else and China would be against him too? You understand that? But no, these people don't understand this. And they say, Obama, right or wrong? Right or wrong? He's always right anyway, so he's not wrong. So, Obama, yay. Yay. And if you don't believe us, if you don't believe that Obama's a good guy, then you're a racist. Well, I'm not a fucking racist, I'll tell you that. I'm not a fucking racist, but I smell a fucking piece of shit from a mile away. And when people actually liked Obama back in 2008 and everything else like that, I understood something fishy was going on. And when people understood, oh, maybe he's doing a little bit bad, but you know, he'll get better and he's a coward or something like that, I said, no, that guy is a piece of shit. And guess what? It turns out I'm right. Obama is a fucking piece of shit. And it's a sad, sad, sad thing when the first black president that we have is the worst fucking piece of shit that we've ever had in the United States of America ever. And that outbeats fucking Bush. And I'm not a racist for saying that, because I'm just saying the truth. If FDR were black, I'd be saying he was the best president. But he's not. And I'm saying FDR is the best president right now. Not because of his fucking color of his skin. Not because I'm a racist and I think white people are better. No. It's because I understand he was a good, decent human being. And I understand that Barack Obama is not. Not because of the fucking color of his skin. Real racism is thinking that people will say that someone is bad because of the color of their skin and call them racist for no reason, when they actually understand that someone is a fucking bad person, and that is Obama. Fuck Obama and fuck this country. Until it gets its shit straight, until it understands for the reasons why we shouldn't attack Syria, and we actually go on the streets and talk about how fucking wrong our country is for attacking this guy, attacking Bashir, who might be good or bad to his own people, for I don't know enough about that. Until we understand that, we've gone nowhere. It's good to understand that this is a bad war, but to understand that this is a bad war and then we don't go in the war and we say, yay, our government listens to us. No, it doesn't. No, it fucking doesn't. Okay? We have to realize that. We have to realize the only reason why our government may placate to us is because of that. It's placating so they gain our respect back, which it will never regain mine. And it will never regain awake people